There we are. I think it's time to fire away.
Sorry, I didn't know what happened there to my internet. I'm back.
Alright, let me know when we go live. The scout cam is a bit off center. Oh no. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this Sunday's Conquest of Champions. We have 4 players tonight, and we are jumping right in with Airhater versus Western Cancer.
Players brought some interesting decks this time.
Absolutely. So Western Cancer right now is on his most traditional deck, which is an Ikaria Blacklist using Tavrods and Statuary Maidens and Rajans. It's like the kind of Ikaria deck that has a lot of threats instead of as many control elements, something we've been seeing more and more with the most recent set.
Yeah, most of the time I prefer to play out threats rather than react to threats. Because
Right,
if you have an extra threat, you win. But if you have an extra reaction, you're not really doing much.
Yeah, and that seems to be absolutely Western Cancer's plan with this deck. And over on Airhater's side, we're seeing Big Xenon, which is a Xenon deck that has access to Champion of Mystery alongside World Bearer and Mystic Ascendant, which, more traditional options, but Champion of Mystery, that's an interesting option.
Oh, that's one of my favorite cards to play with, even in the past. But once you got the Crest of Mystery now, that Champion Mystery will be turned on a lot more often.
Yeah, since you're familiar with playing it, how about you explain what it does and when to use it?
Oh, I'm not that familiar with playing it. It's like the card.
Ah.
It's a nice top end. The unblockable is more important than people think, even though the other side has draw a card, and everybody loves drawing cards.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't see how powerful the draw a card effect here is, because if you have 6 time influence, when the 7/7 hits your opponent draw a card, it's already a 7/7. As much as I love drawing cards, and I really love drawing cards, your opponent's going to die too soon for you to actually get to draw very many cards off that.
Yeah, once you hit them a few times with the Champion of Mystery, they're either dead or it will. So usually it doesn't really matter.
Right. Well, you see Western Cancer having the answer to that World Bear Behemoth in an Annihilate. Now, Airhater has some answers in his hand and is probably going to hold off on that Mystic Ascendant until he has a Sigil to play right after it. No reason to run that into your opponent's answers without being able to get at least some value off of it. Western Cancer will probably commit a Tavrod to the board here, which is going to die to... No, he goes with Statuary Maiden. Interesting. I feel like I would have wanted to keep the Statuary Maiden back more, but then again, Airhater's not actually running any copies of...
I suppose he wanted to protect his Tabrod, which is a bigger threat by himself later on.
Right, and that actually was probably the right play to play the Maiden here, because the Tavrod would be flying into in Cold Blood.
Yeah, that's a card.
That Airhater is not actually on any copies of Dawnwalker.
Yeah.
So
In Cold Blood is a card you really don't want to see when you're playing Tavrod.
Yeah,
and not that much when you're playing Icarios either. That will be a really strong card to play against him.
Right, and of course over on Western Cancer's side of things, the Statuary Maidens aren't actually nearly as good in this matchup as you would normally expect them to be, because this is an unusual Xenon deck that's not running Dawnwalkers.
Statue Mater is good all.
Right, but
Definitely hard to attack through, and you get value anyway through all your removal.
yeah, but it makes more sense to just throw it out early here instead. Is more what I'm saying. It
But
looks
this
like
Champion of Mystery, on the other hand, so he can just go right past that maiden and not worry about anything.
he might have to though.
Oh yeah, he does. But if he can get through, if another Champion of Mystery gets through, he can still ignore it.
Right. Now this normally you'd think the Statuary Maiden is incredibly strong in the matchup versus Xenon, but really doing it into 2/4 deadly that makes Stone Cudgels, which, to be fair, is still powerful, especially now that we see Western Cancer getting a second Stone Cudgel here. That could buff his Statuary Maiden up to a 6/8, and 8 toughness is that sweet spot where nothing in Airhater's deck, except for something brought back by Ion, is going to be that large. And of course, Ion has fairly limited options, currently only World Bear Behemoth.
Yeah, Western Cancer has a handful of removal and starting to put on the pressure. Does what this Jun or slash removal pile kind of deck does best.
Oh, and there's another situation where the cards totally match up in Airhater's favor, but Western Cancer is going to 2-for-1 himself to be able to play out that Icaria this turn. I think it's worth it.
You always play the Icaria.
Yeah, even if it means smashing your face into a 5/6 and then torching it.
Even when it's wrong to play Icaria, you play the Icaria.
Western Cancer disagrees.
I guess he's a better player than most.
Well, worth note that Icaria is charging damage, which it could be really important if Airhater spends his turn killing Tavrod, but it looks like he's going to do more than just that, because he's also going to be able to play out the Dream Snatcher. Now, all of Western Cancer's Tavrods are void-bound.
That's a nice little synergy I haven't noticed before. The In Cold Blood giving Dream Snatcher +2 power because of discarding the other units into the void.
Right, that is a strong combo there.
Oh, I guess he just decides to take this. He sees the writing on the wall.
Airhater decides that he doesn't have a way to deal with the Icaria at that point, so he's just going to pack it up, and we're going to see what other deck Airhater brought.
So Airhater has found Scar, found Splash a little bit of red for Torch and Quarry, and he also has Charge Rod with the new Antidote call.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. I really hope it wasn't banned. And over on Western Cancer's side of things, he'll be having to swap over to one of his other decks, which is either Xenonport Mill, which is a deck that is running Mask of Torment and A New Tomorrow into Solitudes and Dream Snatchers, which seems very exciting. Or Crown Roaches, making use of... Is that both merchants? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
8 copies of Merchant.
I like that strategy for roaches.
3 in the side, in the main, and 1 in the market.
I do legitimately like that strategy for
effectively
roaches.
Running 11 copies of Crown of Possibilities.
That's exactly what you want. It looks like players are diving right into game, though, so let's get in and see what's up. We seem to be having some technical difficulties with the stream, actually.
Airhater has not that much action, bit of a dirtily hand. And a Hailstorm.
Over on Western Kansas side of things, we see that he chose to bring in. Well, I guess he didn't choose because this would mean that his Crown Roaches deck was banned, since he is now on his Xenonport Mill. He has 2 Crests of Vengeance and currently no Time Influence in hand. Yeah, I think our producer's internet is not working well.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, very not good.
Both players playing a bit of a slower decks.
Definitely.
One has the Harsh Rule, the other has the Black Sky Harbinger and Hailstorm.
Yeah, Western Cancer right now is looking at a very, very, very slow hand. And currently he will be able to play Dream Snatcher or an Island. Oh, there's the Crest of Mystery. That's exactly what he needed so that he'll be able to play out the Cumbria Healers fairly early if he decides to. Though he may just hold on to them looking for a mask.
Yeah, probably just get the Merchant and play out the Mask immediately. Try and ramp up as soon as possible.
That is likely the plan. Mask is actually one of the decks that I haven't really experimented with yet since the fall of Virgin Port, and Merchants might make it very, very valuable. It's a 4-drop, which means it comes off the market and goes right into play after the next turn.
And there's also a little bit of a few more life force enablers. Not much. They were kind of very careful with that in the new set.
Oh yes, they were.
Let's see. Is his deck running any new cards for Life Force?
I don't suppose he really needs to be.
Yep. I don't see any new Life Force cards, but he is running 2 End of the Story.
Yeah.
Which gives them 2 more copies of that Harsh Rule. And especially against Found, the tribute effect that goes through ages is useful for dealing with Champion of Cunnings.
It can be somewhat surprising how few sources of life gain you actually need in a mask deck to make it effective.
Yeah, you don't need to keep going off that much. Like every point, just because it's cumulative. Like you don't need a burst Life Force. You can just get it incidentally, and and it ramps you so you can keep doing that again and again.
Yeah, a lot of the cards are incidental life gain. Like Cumbria Healer, for example, is just a good defensive card.
Air Hater responds to Western Kansas market with a market card of his own.
Yes.
That is really useful against this deck.
Can you see what he got off of it?
He got Burglarize, which says Nightfall, steal an enemy relic and put it into your hand. So he deals with his mask and turns it into gas for himself.
That is incredibly strong, and my voice does not seem to be happy yet. I'm gonna drink some water and see if that helps.
Water is the caster's best friend. So Air Hater doesn't have that many Life Force cards to take advantage of the mask. He has 2 Vera's Favor and 4 Black Sky Harbingers, and that's pretty much it. But he can use the, if he ever gets to 20 power, he can use the effect to get the Tormentor out. And that's really strong in these matchups.
Yes. But it might be very hard to get there.
Oh yeah, definitely very hard to get to 20 power.
when your deck's not designed to do such a thing. Now we see Western Cancer go ahead and play out the mask, and let's see how fast Western Cancer decides to burglarize it. He decides not to commit the torch to killing that Karen Dawn merchant.
Yeah.
Probably the right play.
He doesn't really care about that little bit of damage, and he has a Black Sky Harbinger to deal with it later when needed.
Yeah, and there's the burglarize.
I like that bit of flavor with the Nightfall. The thief steals at night.
Sorry, what was that?
I like the bit of flavor with the Nightfall. How the thief steals at night.
Yes, it is good flavor there. Nightfall is just good for so much flavor.
Yeah, they use that mechanic well. Even though the cards with it usually weren't that strong on their own, the mechanic itself I really enjoy.
And here is that end of the story. That's not necessarily actually what Western Cancer is looking for at this point, because Air Hater gets to commit Western Cancer's Mask of Torment, and there's the other end of the story. So yeah, Western Cancer is spoiled for answers, and that's not exactly what he needs right now.
Yeah, and Western Cancer is the player that has more units to put on the board, but he's also the one with the most sweepers.
So Western Cancer does decide to commit the end of the story that was on top of his deck, just to get it away from there.
Yeah, it's probably a good move, just to not draw it.
Yeah, he wants to draw something else. Worth noting, both of Western Cancer's end of the stories are premium.
Oh, this guy has all the shinies. You can tell that it's raining. I didn't know it was raining beforehand. Right. The premium effects. Going Black Sky Harbinger to Black Sky Harbinger. Getting that little bit of ramp, which is very useful to just draw all your cards.
Yeah, that is exactly ramp for Air Hater, where Western Cancer is getting some card draw off of Wanted Poster into Slay on that Black Sky Harbinger. And now Western Cancer has his own mask in hand.
Okay, so
rather than Air Hater having like Western Cancer's own mask in hand.
You may not see this, but Air Hater has a merchant in hand. And he has a gift in the sideboard.
Oh dear.
That is the card that will make or break this matchup.
Yeah, and we see that Western Cancer does not have a burglarize in his market, so it's not like he's going to be able to go get a...
Shame the relic deck is not prepared to deal with enemy relics.
Yeah, he also has his own gift in his market, but is not able to even go and get anything from the market right now, as he does not have any merchants.
So if someone hits you with Zendo's gift, can you burglarize it, or do you have to burglarize the gift you put on them? Can you give them a gift and steal it back?
I imagine you can steal the gift that they gave to you to be able to re-gift it.
Because I am not sure how that works out with player and who's the owner. These rules are similar, but not exactly the same as it is in Magic.
Curses are owned by opponents.
Oh, so you can give them a gift and take it back, just to be mean.
I mean, like, the curse is owned by the player who played it. So...
Okay, so you can do that.
You can steal a gift that was given to you.
Oh, okay. But it's already yours. Why would you steal it?
So that you can re-gift it to your opponent.
But think about the flavor.
I mean, to be fair, it's a kind of shitty gift.
Yeah. No one enjoys getting Nintendo's gifted. unless you're some weird reanimator deck.
Even then, I mean, if you're a reanimator deck, you probably have your own ways to get stuff into the void. And want to have your cards in hand. Now, I wonder how long it's going to take for Western Cancer to decide to concede here, because he currently does actually have something to continue doing with that Devoted Theurge, being able to gain life every turn. That could result in him getting to be able to play the Tormentor before Airhater can. So we're really waiting to see if Airhater is able to close out the game, because
Airhater has a Feeding Time and a Annihilate and 2 torches in hand, plus a Channel the Tempest.
Okay, that Devoted Theurge is not long for this world.
It's set up for life.
What did he grab from the market?
I don't see the market symbol. I think he grabbed another Inco Blood.
Interesting. Western Cancer gets to draw 2 cards, and they're both power. So he plays the Waystone and hopes for good draws in his next 2 cards.
Yeah, I don't see Western Cancer coming back from this. Airhater just drew a Champion of Cunning with Flying in Aegis and another Channel the Tempest.
Yeah, this game is so over. So that means that both players have gotten a win. Airhater has done it with his Bone Scar, and Western Cancer had done it with his Icaria Black. So we're going to move into a game with Big Xenon versus that Life Force deck.
Yeah. So this is 3 decks they bring with a ban each, which means you have to defeat 2 of your opponent's deck in order to win.
As a Conquest format, my voice just cracked. As a Conquest format, that means that you have to win with each of your unbanned decks.
Western Cancer has Crown Roaches,
which seems to have been the deck that was banned.
Yeah, I guess he did not want to deal with that crown. I don't blame him. But can he deal with the mill deck? No, he already beat the mill deck.
Well,
yeah,
Airhater has to beat that mill deck once more. It is pretty easy to forget that the mill deck is a mill deck because it's also a mask deck. And
so who do you think is favored in the Charge Rod versus mill deck?
Well, Charge Rod was
Charge
banned,
Rod,
so we're not going to see Charge Rod.
What do you see the bans?
I'm extrapolating personally.
Oh yeah, those are probably good guesses. Oh yeah, we already played these 2. All right, I got there. It took me a while.
So, Western Cancer versus Airhater, Game 3. Western Cancer is on his Xenonport Mask of Torment mill deck using Dream Snatchers and Solitude for the kill.
Whereas Airhater is on the Xenon deck. He has a hand of 3 power and a Dream Snatcher, but he doesn't have the second Shadow Source in order to cast it. He throws that away and draws Vera's Choice and Dream Snatcher on curve, which is much better for him.
Yes, that is absolutely a better hand. Very preferable. Now, here's a card that we see Western Cancer running. Petition. It is a 2-cost spell with no influence requirements that has you draw a power card of your choice from your deck. How do you like it?
That card is really interesting. at first glance, I didn't really give it a thought, but it's a draw power is any power. It can be a crest, it can be a waystone, it can be a tactic. Any kind of power you want, you can draw it.
Well, it can't be a tactic. It can be a banner, though.
Oh yeah, because at that point, it can be a tactic before it
Becomes a tactic.
Yeah, before it becomes a tactic, it can be a standard.
Yeah.
But this really helps you when you're going for like 5 or 4 factions. You can pull up dual faction cards and fix all the influence you need on one card.
Right, but Western Cancer's only playing 3 factions. I guess
So,
he just really,
I guess he's
really
on a Turbo Champion of Mystery plan.
Airhater is.
Oh no, yeah, Airhater is playing the Champion of Mystery. So why is he playing Petition?
Yeah, why is Western Cancer playing Petition? Well, if we look at his deck, it seems to be so that he can run a total of 3 sigils. Everything else in his power base is non-sigils.
Oh, he ran Petition instead of Seek Power to run all the duels. Okay, I respect that.
Especially since he's running Anu tomorrow. That goes well with spell effect.
That's a really interesting decision I haven't thought about.
Yeah.
But that does mean he doesn't have much to do at 2 power.
Right. Though his deck is already slower, so I guess that's just kind of his plan. Now, Airhater currently has a lot.
Oh wow, that is
of Dream Snatchers.
That was so good for him.
I don't think Western Cancer can wait to end of the story, but I suppose he can hold off for the harsh roll since that'll be next turn.
Dream Snatcher is one of my favorite cards. There's so many things you can do with him.
Right.
He can be just a growing big threat. He can add to your mill game plan. He can save you off from aggro with the lifesteal. Very unassuming card that does a whole lot of work.
Yeah. And with 3 in play, that's a very aggressive force.
It's the best kind of force. Let's see if he can snatch his dreams. He does have a harsh roll in hand, so that's going to be fired off immediately, or to end the story.
Western Cancer will have access to being able to play the end of the story off the top of his deck, which he does choose to do. I agree with that choice.
Yeah, he's at 8. One more swing would have killed him.
Yes, well, I'm largely saying that I agree with choosing to play the end of the story off the top of the deck, rather than playing the end of the story or harsh roll in his hand. He had been on 4 power the previous turn, but got an extra power due to playing the Mask of Torment. And then playing the one off the top of his library is always playing your warp card is card advantage, because it means that you're going other than that card that is essentially already in your hand.
That is very true. Now, Western Cancer is at 7 power, and Airhater, not 7 power, 7 health, and Airhater is at 41. He had a very good start, but Western Cancer has a harsh rule and an end of the story, and a Combre Healer, and a Dream Snatcher, and a Slay.
Yeah,
there's so much for Airhater to fight through to get that last point of damage in.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for Airhater to finish this out. This turn, Western Cancer can play the Slay and either the Combre Healer or the Dream Snatcher, or both, because he can play one, play the banner, and play the other. Actually, you could just play both anyway. I'm bad at math.
Western Cancer is pretty comfortable with doing whatever he wants at this point.
Definitely.
He has 2 masks up and all the removal he needs to pressure him to keep his life total nice and smooth.
Right, and here we see why Western Cancer chose not to commit the Dream Snatcher as well. He will be able to play a harsh roll or end of the story this turn as a way of dealing with the World Bearer Behemoth if he doesn't choose to grab a kill spell from his market using the Karandon Merchant, and I imagine he would prefer to pick up the Solitude or Azendel's Gift. Since he doesn't actually have a kill spell in his market, he's probably not going with that. He shows off that he will be using the Harsh Roll by attacking there with the Conquer Healer, but he's going to take some time and do the math, decide whether he wants to use the Harsh Roll or the end of the story this time. And he chooses to play the end of the story. It's
Probably to
tributed.
be more power efficient on a later turn.
Right.
In Inhaler's hand is 2 Annihilates, 1 Devastating Setback, and a Seek Power. He has a whole lot of nothing to be able to do.
Well, he's not going to actually be able to be very power efficient with that Harsh Roll because he's not going to get to play that Harsh Roll. However, at this point, I don't think he's particularly worried about that. Interesting choice, though, that he chooses not to play out the Karandon Merchant to grab something from his market. I feel like the gift here would be pretty powerful, but instead he is going to play the Dream Snatcher and use its ultimate in the same turn. That is going to result in an Air Hater firing off an Annihilate because he doesn't want to have to deal with that creature going massive. Now we have
Western Cancer does have that mill aspect to his deck, so maybe he's trying to help set that up.
Oh, he absolutely is. Currently, there are now 25 cards in Air Hater's Void and 41 cards in his library. That becomes increasingly relevant as that Karandon Merchant can go and grab a Solitude from Western Cancer's market. That Solitude, of course, for now, can mill 25 cards, and that is not enough to kill Air Hater. So, Western Cancer is going to have to decide if he just wants to play the Ever Waystone or do nothing. And he decides to play the Waystone because he wants that extra power off the Mask of
I
Torment.
suppose that's why he's waiting on playing the Merchant to see if he can continue with the mill game plan or go for value.
Certainly.
And when it comes to mill, all the cards you discarded before he hits 1 doesn't matter at all.
Yeah,
it's only when he hits that last card.
It's a very all or nothing strategy.
If I was Western Cancer, I would probably just play the Sleepless Night right away. Just keep going for value and just ignore the mill game plan.
Right. But that doesn't seem to be what he wants to do. Interesting, though, that he chooses not to play the Amethyst Waystone. He is not interested in getting that Nightfall trigger for his opponent, as powerful as the Nightfall trigger for himself would be.
Okay, Air Hater just scouted a Merchant onto the top. That's the best card of his deck because that Merchant represents another Azendel's Gift.
Yeah,
Air Hater matchups is very strong.
Yeah, Air Hater is very happy to be able to play a gift on his opponent that's been sandbagging cards for several turns now.
And Western Cancer, I don't believe, has any answers to it in his own market.
Right. Western Cancer is not playing around answers, and rather just playing around his own aggression in his own unique strategy. So I think it's very interesting to see what Western Cancer decides to get out of the market. What do you think it's going to be?
Probably a gift.
Yeah.
Also a good choice. He doesn't see the enemy gift, so now they're in top tech wars.
Right. This is going to be an absolute top tech war where where both players are going to have Azendel's Gift. Now, Air Hater is on 40 life, whereas Western Cancer is on a Mask of Torment. So this is going to wind up being a very, very interesting race. Because it is that top deck war.
In the top deck war, who do you give the edge to? Western Cancer has more harsh rules and answers. And those top deck war usually want the last threat.
Yeah, those harsh rules are not going to be very useful, but he also has that looming threat of the Mask of Torment, being able to ultimate for 20 to play the Tormentor.
Yeah. As soon as Western Cancer gets to 20, he's probably winning any top tech war with
And
that
he's already at
tournament.
70. He's getting close to that.
That is a sad Vero's choice that Airhater just drew.
Hero, could you screen share so that I can see?
Sure. Here you go.
Wonderful. That way I can actually see both players' hands. That's going to make it a lot easier so I don't have to rely on you telling me what Airhater has in hand. Now that was a power play by Western Cancer. It turns out he does have answers to that Azendel's gift, and that disjunction is that answer.
But it's just not in the not in the market. It's in the main deck.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't make sense in the market. It's a shadow merchant.
Shadow.
Yeah. Yes.
A lot of interesting deck building decisions comes with the merchants and what to include and what to leave in there.
Yeah, it's also worth note that Solitude is now lethal. It will go 32 cards, and Airhater now has exactly 32 cards in hand after that draw.
Solitude is secretly the best card in the Western Cancer's deck for these to counter gift.
I mean, it's what his deck is built around.
Let's see if he either draws a merchant or that one of Solitude in his main deck.
Now, worth note, Airhater did get to play that Mystic Ascendant, so Western Cancer may be looking to decide to commit the Harsh Rule.
Now, I'll probably just fire it off right away. You don't want Mystic Ascendant to be getting cards.
Right, that can become way too much value.
And you have 20 for the next turn, so you can play out the Tormentor and start pressuring anyway.
Exactly. This is going to be a hard game for Airhater to come back in at this point. Turns out the deck that goes later in the late game war seems to be advantaged. Now, Airhater does get to play Ion, but I think Western Cancer is more than happy to just spend the turn slaying that Ion so Airhater cannot grab back a big threat. It could be a 10-10. Yeah. And that's exactly what Western Cancer chooses to do. He'd much rather just hold off a turn than have to deal with those massive threats. But speaking of massive threats, here's Champion of Mystery. That is one way for Airhater to possibly get back into the game. Currently, that would require 3 attacks, though.
That is the best card in his deck right now. It's unblockable, and he can just get in whenever he needs to.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
And that is a second threat. That World Behemoth means that the Tormentor can't attack in this turn, though currently attacks aren't really favorable for Western Cancer anyway. Devoted Theurge, I don't think is currently getting quite enough life to extend Western Cancer's life too long, but still...
He does have a second blocker now. Wait.
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't block World Behemoth well, though. Not yet.
Not yet. But Western Cancer chooses to hold the Tormentor back as a way of blocking the World Behemoth. Strong play. And that Devoted Theurge will be able to gain now, let's see, 24 divided by 6. Quick math. He will be able to gain 4 life per turn, which currently puts Western Cancer out of kill range from that Champion of Mystery this turn. And will allow him to start attacking. Oh, there we are! That was exactly the draw Western Cancer needed. That Solitude is going to allow him to win the
card
game.
In the entire game. If you're a mill deck.
It's almost like it's the win condition for mill decks. And there we see Western Cancer taking the match 2-1 over Airhater. The other match was done a while ago at this point.
Done long ago.
We should be moving right into round 2, but we're going to take a quick break to fix some of the production issues that we have. Sorry about
All
those.
right, guys. See you soon.
Okay, that should sound a lot better, does it?
That does, actually.
Okay, so Discord was once again using my webcam as my microphone rather than my actual quality microphone. That is really annoying.
Yeah, that often happens.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go into a gauntlet game so that you can see the hand cam and scout cam.
Okay.
Not you. Good.
All is well.
Here's everything you'd ever need.
Miracle Girl.
In
Blitz.
Gauntlet.
I've seen a few players playing that during the event
Yeah,
with all the spells they have.
yeah, I have too. I've beaten them.
Right now I'm playing FTP Shimmer Pack with all spells.
Interesting. I've
Those tend to flocks.
Yeah, Tend the Flock seems really good for that type of list.
Yeah, my first try with that deck, I went like 1-3 because I forgot to put all the spells in the deck, and I just used like the stock list.
Whoops.
I'm gonna go get some water while we're on
Yeah,
break.
water is a caster's best friend. Go for it.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
The worst part about casting is all the alt tabbing you have to do to check out the actual accurate information.
Right. Well, the issue for me is I do have 3 monitors, which works out well, but I can't have Discord full screen when like I'm looking at the other hand cam or something, because then I miss what everyone else is talking about.
Yeah. Brian Tennis. Airhitter. Yeah, that's what we're watching this time, and then next match we're gonna go with winners.
Yeah, sounds like the plan.
Definitely have to catch Magikarp, no matter what. Just
Right.
follow Magikarp.
I'll concede this time again, now that everything's fixed up. And I guess I grab Prime Temps.
I'm gonna add him for just in case anyway. For some reason, my copy and paste doesn't work on Discord. The commands controlling C.
Right, that's very strange. Copy paste works from me with Discord.
Like I can right click and it works, but I think it's something with my laptop. I have no clue what the issue is. You just say you're watching him again. I guess he got confused.
Oh,
Small tournament.
Air Hater hadn't been on my friends list yet.
See, asked him who to decide to ban next time. So we were guessing for the most part. Oh, Duncan doesn't know. That's not good. Tio should always know.
Prime Temps has banned Rod. Which means, once again, we're not going to get to see Air Hater's Rod. And Air Hater banned Stone Scar.
That's one of the most unfortunate parts of Conquest. Everybody always bans the most fun deck to watch. They're gonna have to play against, but to watch.
Definitely.
Stone Scar, nobody cares about.
Right. So I think it's time to move into the round game.
So you're spectating right now?
I will be spectating Prime Temps.
Okay, I have it here.
So Prime Temps has a Xenon Obelisk deck that's... Wait a second. Recombobulates? Hip shots? Oh, this is a warp heavy deck.
Oh, is that a warp deck? Well, I am intrigued.
It does not seem to be.
It's not dead. It's a warp deck. It has a workshop forge.
Yeah, it has workshop forge.
It's a pure warp deck. Okay, I'm gonna be excited about this one.
All right, we are live with round 2. We are going to be jumping down to the losers match between Air Hater and Prime Temps. Air Hater is on. What is he on?
Let's see. He is on his Zening deck.
Whereas Prime Temps is on this very exciting Warp Workshop Forge list.
Oh, I love Workshop Forge. It's such a fun deck to play and see. Once it goes off, he is playing 300 cards in a turn.
Yeah, I find when I look at the deck, I keep getting put off by the idea of having a power on top of my deck and just saying, "Oh,
that's why you got Waystone
one of those
Infuser.
per turn."
Give your power cards the warp. But if you get the second power card, then you're really screwed.
Exactly. Speaking of Waystone Infuser, Prime Temps is absolutely running those. He's also not running just warp cards, as we see those Temple Scribes. He also has some Xenon Obelisks and Markets. He is running the Time Merchant, Aurelia Merchant, just like pretty much everyone else that's running a time-based deck.
Prime Temps is playing a heavy Workshop Forge focus deck. Like that is the keystone of your card, of your deck, and you're playing Aurelian Merchant, which is time, but in your market there are no Workshop Forge. Because I guess he wants to keep the warp value, but that card is so key to the deck that I think you need to put it in the market anyway.
Right. Now, we see Airhater going with the aggression from those Dream Snatchers. That does seem to be what he uses them for. That and possibly Life Force triggers.
Ooh, lots of health. He has a Amber Waystone, Ion, 2 Dream Snatchers.
Right. He doesn't actually have anything to make use of the Life Force triggers. He just wants to gain a lot of life to help him out in those mid-range matchups.
Okay, so Airhater decided to play Xenon, and I think that was a really good choice because he has a Banish, which kills off Workshop Forge and makes Prime Ted's deck really underwhelming when it's not going off.
Right, but speaking of really underwhelming, Prime Temps currently doesn't have that Workshop Forge, and is instead being able to play cards like Blink Wolf and Alluring Ember.
Oh,
That's
you gotta love the good boy.
so not exciting.
I don't know about you. I'm always excited for Blink Wolf.
It's a 2-1 for 2, though.
But look at the
That
art.
sometimes gets the incidental value.
Look at his little face. He has great art.
He's dead now.
Oh, I'm sad to see him go.
At this point, I think Airhater has gotten off to too fast of a start for Prime Temps to really have anything to deal with it.
Yeah, Prime Temps. That's the thing about these Workshop Forge decks. You're running a lot of underwhelming units, and if you're not chaining off warps, then you're not doing anything.
Exactly.
Airhater picks up an Annihilate, decides not to use it before attacks.
Even
Maybe
then,
he'll use it to save a Dream Snatchers or an Ion.
looks like he chooses to save his Ion. Dream Snatcher at this point has done its job. The Ion still has another job to do.
Airhater is holding up that Banish just in case he ever sees a Forge.
Right.
He is holding on to this card for the entire game.
Well, so far he hasn't had anything to really use it on anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't really care about the 1/1 warps.
Yeah. And Prime Temps.
Spike Tome. Oh no, the Journeyman Armory.
Yeah.
He has another warp card on top. Ooh, and a
As
hard
always.
card. That is the very best card in his deck.
Of course, Prime Temps won't get to play that Heart of the Vault this turn because he only has 5 remaining power. So instead he chooses to play out Waystone Infuser, which is actually one of the better cards in this particular matchup because it matches up well against Sandstorm Titan, just happily blocking it.
I think Waystone Infuser is a very underrated card. It's not amazing, like incredible, but it's a lot better than people give it credit for. It's nice incidental card advantage over time.
Perhaps it is. Well, we see this Banish come out to save Ion. That's an interesting choice there. I feel like if you're attacking with the Ion, you don't care that much about the Ion, or you're already planning to do that?
And then he ends up actually playing out the Banish. And if he ever draws a Workshop Forge, he doesn't have an answer to it now.
Exactly. And I feel like that Workshop Forge is the only way Prime Temps comes back into the game. So Airhater should be sandbagging to deal with it, in my mind at least.
Oh,
here's
the
another
Obelisk is also another card that you wouldn't want to answer with a Banish.
Exactly.
One nice thing about Banish and the Obelisk is it screws up their combat math if you use it at fast speed.
Exactly. Now, here we see the Aurelian Merchant that Prime Temps is running. That would mean that he's able to get Purify, Xenon Obelisk, Sandstorm Scarf, Scorpion Wasp, or Brilliant Discovery.
But not
Very-
a Workshop Forge.
Very interesting choosing to not run a copy of his combo enabler in his market. So
If
this
he had a
turn,
Workshop Forge right now, he would be going completely off.
yeah, like that's a very confusing choice because that means he has to keep digging to be able to find a Workshop Forge.
This deck does dig well though. You just keep hitting cards off the top of your deck until you find what you want.
I mean, yeah, but it's digging by playing bad cards.
Yeah,
I'm
but you have a Xenon Obelisk to make it decent, to a little bit bad, from terrible to bad.
yeah, I'm still far from convinced on this warp deck, and I feel like if you want to be playing one of these warp decks at this point, maybe you want to be going for another faction as well to be able to get access to some of those new warp legendary spells.
Yeah, the new set introduced a lot of new warp cards that weren't in traditional warp colors. I guess it became sort of an evergreen keyword. If you're coming from Magic, you know what that means, which pretty much just means it's used all the time, regardless of set.
My guess is that it's going to be a deciduous keyword that's going to be used somewhat sparingly, but is a thing that the developers have access to whenever they feel it is fitting, such as for a very powerful cycle of cards that are all legendary spells. The end of cycle is, of course, what I'm
Yeah,
talking
they're not throwing it everywhere. That's true.
right.
There's only 2 cards in that cycle which are competitive, seen in competitive a bit. End of hostilities and end of the story. End of the
Yeah.
barrel is really fun, but you don't see it much.
I've actually seen some people playing it in Darwolf's current event as a way to try to ramp into generally
in the
try.
event, it is really strong. You can play that. You can play your Scourge of the Frost Tomes too.
Yeah, that's generally what it seems to be used for, trying to ramp into Scourge of Frostholm, which turns out to be very powerful in an event where players are incentivized to run all spells.
So you thought this was a warp deck, but it's actually a tokens deck disguised as a warp deck. You have 2 Xenon Obelisks out and an almost completely full board.
That's an interesting choice, choosing to attack in with the Temple Scribes here. I guess Prime Temps wants to be able to blow out one of them with a hip shot, but really that's just a 2-for-1.
No,
where
the Temple Scribe did draw you a card at least.
Yeah, but that still seems very confusing to me. Like, why not just attack with 1? Because in doing that, you just sacrifice one of your 5 bugs.
Oh, yeah. You sacrifice 2 of your units to kill, and a spell, 2 of your units and a spell to kill one of theirs.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand wanting to 2-for-1 yourself to get rid of one of the Sandstorm Titans, but the other one did nothing. It just walked forward and died.
Okay, Prime Temps is now going completely off. Does not need Workshop Forge. He's just beating him down with Obelisk.
Well, I'm still thoroughly unconvinced by this deck, simply because everything that Prime Temps has done so far could have been done better by a dedicated tokens deck.
But could it have been done in a more stylish way? I don't think so.
You make a good point there, I suppose.
Yeah, your haters getting beaten down. Any old unit's gonna be lethal for him.
Yeah, Air Hater is down to 6 life. He could gain up to 6 more from those ions, plus that additional 1 there from the Vara's favor. But that's not going to be enough because there's just too many units attacking in here. So Air Hater decides to just take it all, and we see him go down to negative 39.
That is a big number.
Or is it a small number?
Depends on your perspective, really.
Yeah. Or is it even a number? These are important questions. Sounds
Very
like we have a
existential
winner's bracket
for Game
update.
of Eternal.
Sounds like we have a winner's match update that Magikarp beat Western Cancer 2-0. So we should hopefully be able to see Magikarp versus either Prime Temps or Air Hater. I guess it would be Air Hater next round. But let's dive into game 2 now of Prime Temps versus Air Hater.
Are they in the game? Oh yeah, they are. It took me a while.
It took them a little while. So Prime Temps is now on his Felm Kenna End of Hostilities deck.
Oh, kind of one of my favorite cards in the new set. I love it. I love her and everything she does.
Kenna is super exciting. She is one of the many cards from this set that has that when you play a spell, get +2/+2 and something this turn. For her, she gets flying. She's also a 7-cost killer, 5/6, that has tribute, draw a spell from your void. That can be very powerful.
She has a lot going on in one package.
Yeah.
She does her best Carnosaur impression with the big body and killer. She has she gains stats when you play spells, so you can really you can really eat something bigger or present a big threat in the air. And she gives you value over time with just drawing spells.
So Air Hater does have access to his third power, but it's going to be a slow way of doing it because he's going to have to commit the Vara's favor. Interesting that he's a bit confused as to why Kenna was discarded, but that's because this deck is a Reanimator deck from Prime Temps. Prime Temps has access to 3 copies of Grasping Net Shadows in the main deck and 1 in the market alongside.
It's interesting he chooses to run End of Hostilities.
I like the End of Hostilities, personally. Being able to copy a Kenna is a great way of getting access to other effects, and since all of his creatures are big spell effects when they interplay, stuff like Snow Crush Animist or Kenna.
In general, I've been impressed with the card. I've been liking what it does.
He's also running the cool tech of Jotun Hunter, which is the 5/5 or the 4/4 for 5 that has Fate, create and draw Snowball. He's using that essentially as a
Jotun Hurler is another card that I think is very underrated.
Yeah,
he can pop Aegis, which is everywhere now.
He gets the Snowball to pop an Aegis or kill something with 1 toughness, and then
this game looks like it's over right away with that Reanimator, showing off exactly what it can do. Turning off all of their opponent's interaction on turn 4, 5.
Yeah, that's going to be very hard for Air Hater to come back from, especially since this deck does not have access to any unit-based silence effects. That makes it pretty much impossible, I think.
What can Air Hater do? Let's see. He can
find the concede
basically
button?
just hope. He can hope for the Frostholm to run into a deadly unit of his.
And I don't imagine Prime Temps making that mistake. So at this point, I think the best bet for Air Hater is to press the concede button. Though I guess he has the opportunity to maybe get an Azendel's gift out of his market to make Primetemp's life harder. But he's
His
also
best
going to
bet
need
would
to be
be
able
drawing
to,
power and presenting threats in the air with Champion of Cunning,
yeah,
with blockers on the ground. That is his only game plan right now they can do to come out of here.
he also has that Statuary Maiden as a way to continue to do something about Prime Temp's scary board state, but it's a he's definitely battling from behind at this point, Airhater.
You saw Prime Temps attacking with his units to bait the tribute, which is a very interesting, makes a very interesting blocking decision in this new set.
Right.
Do you chump block?
Well, at this point, it would not have been chumps because all of Prime Temp's units are deadly.
Yeah, I was just trying to say in general.
Oh, well,
For the
in
tribute
general,
mechanic.
I try to avoid jump blocking until it's absolutely necessary to not die, because I feel like it's more important to have units on board that can perhaps stack together and block a big unit than to have that life total until I'm down to just one life.
So Air Hater chooses to trade with his merchant instead of eating it with his statuary mating.
Here's Kenna. Thanks to that grasping at shadows, Primetemps also gets to pick up a sabotage, but that's not exactly super powerful at this point, since all of our haters' spells are going to be impossible to play anyway. Now, Air Hater does get to commit Champions of Cunning to the board each turn, but for now, they do not have Flying in Aegis or that Shadow ability.
Yeah, he's gonna really have to lean on these guys, and Kenna does a really good job of eating them,
Absolutely.
which makes life even more difficult for him. Playing through Scourge of the Frostholm as a control deck is always incredibly difficult.
Definitely. It's interesting that Direwolf has decided to go with the strategy of having very powerful threats and very powerful hate cards. Stuff like Scourge of the Frostholm or Azendel's Gift or Vision of Austerity. All these different cards that are really good at completely hating out a strategy.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad in the earlier sets, but with the new sets in the markets, they really tuned it up. I guess so no one deck can become too dominant in the meta. Because there's always an answer.
I mean, it seems to be Direwolf's strategy for how they want the game to be, and some people really don't like that, but I think it's completely fine. It's what allows there to be so many cards that have such powerful effects.
Yeah, Prime Temp's playing out a Black Sky Harbinger. Swinging in does not swing.
Like,
Even though he's out of power, he does not want to swing.
yeah, that's an interesting choice. He could have totally swung in with a Kenna, but at this point he knows that he's able to just win the game over the next several turns with flying units. Or, that's not even several turns. I know, it's 2 turns at this point. So
If he
why
had
bother
swung
doing
with,
anything else?
With his units last turn, this would have been lethal now.
He
Oh,
does
no, he just gives up.
with everything, and Air Hater chooses to just take it. So we see Primetemps winning a fairly rapid game 2 after his game 1 win over Air Hater. So Primetemps wins that game, that match.
All right, so the next round, we're going to see Magikarp versus somebody, one of these guys.
Well, we're going to take a short break. Hopefully this time we're actually muted on break. Sorry about that. in preparation for round 3.
See you soon.
that is
Of course.
3 matches we saw Air Hater. 3 matches we saw Air Hater.
So we are
Every match Air
getting
Hater
back
banned
into
Rod.
game. We are
And
into this. Magikarp is on a Leafy moment, and Air Hater is on his Fountain Scar deck.
so Air Hater decided to ban Magikarp's Praxis Tokens deck. That's totally understandable. And Magikarp unfortunately banned Rod.
I don't think Magikarp has gotten to play Practice Token this entire tournament, and I don't think he ever will.
Probably not.
Nobody that.
Yeah, it's one of those decks that if you bring it to a conquest, your opponent's only going to let you play it if they have a very, very good matchup against it. Something like a deck with 6 copies of Heart's Rule effects.
I suppose that's a good strategy to bring it to a Conquest deck. Just bring the most hated deck you can in your third slot that you don't even care about and throw it
Right.
away. So you always get to pick your next deck that you actually want to play.
So, Elise is a really cool card that has, of course, been seen play in Miracle Grow lists, formerly called Infect, now Miracle Grow, because we apparently really enjoy using classic Magic deck names. And she is a 1/1 for 1. When you play a spell, she gets +1/+1, and you gain 1.
Yeah, you've been seeing Elise show up in all sorts of kind of different decks. The Miracle Grow is more of an aggressive deck, and this deck is more of a controlling deck. But she does work on both sides, being both a very big threat, and she adds to your defense with the arm.
Oh, sorry, we're going with Miracle Blitz rather than
Yeah,
Miracle Grow.
Miracle Blitz.
Air Hater is going to be able to start playing out threats with those with Champion into Black Sky Harbinger, but he might choose to hold off on playing the Champion until he can make sure it has Aegis.
Air Hater
course-
does have a Merchant, so he can play an Azendo's Gift, which would be pretty strong against the opponent's deck.
He does choose to get the gift. It's going to take him an extra couple of turns to be able to actually play it, but once he does, it's going to be tough for Magikarp to deal with. Let's see. Magikarp's market. There is a Shadowglass Mage. That's a way to deal with that attachment. But, of course, it's really hard to pull something from the market when you have a gift on you, since you're generally only going to be able to draw 1 card per turn.
Yeah, so Magikarp was going to have to preemptively predict the gift and then get the Shadowglass Mage in advance.
And of course, he doesn't have a merchant right now anyway, so he's not going to be able to do that.
That is very unfortunate. He's going to be hit with the gift, and his deck is going to be very sad.
There, however, was one of the power plays Magikarp can make with this Elise, attacking in with it as a 4/4, even though his opponent has a 4/5 up and ready to block, because that fast spell of a torch would make it a chump block.
Yeah, Magikarp is still putting on a lot of pressure, and that's a good way you can win despite the gift. Elise becomes a surprisingly strong threat for only a 1-drop.
Yeah, I mean, she is fairly comparable to Student.
Oh, yeah, she gets bigger faster than a Waking Student.
Exactly.
And that's saying something, because a Waking Student is a 2-drop, and is considered one of the most powerful cards in the game.
However, Air Hater does draw a card that works really well against something like Alessi in Cold Blood.
Oh, that's going to make Alessi very sad. Can't draw another one ever again.
No justice left in the world. However, that might actually be totally fine with Magikarp, because at this point, those future Alessi draws would not generally be exactly what Magikarp wants to be drawing cards. However, Crown Rodge Press Gang no longer has something to go get, because normally it's in this deck to go grab Alessi.
So, in Cold Blood doing double duty. shutting down both Alessi and the press gang a bit.
Yeah, and there's that 5/5 Flying Aegis champion of Cunning. That's going to start becoming a threat. Airhater currently is not able to be able to start giving it +2 power every turn, but it's going to be a tough game at this point for Magikarp to come back from.
So Magikarp is going to want to draw either a moment of creation to outrace him. Oh, he drew it.
Yep, he did. Now, those are 8/8s, which means you could, in theory, take one hit from one of them, but you can't just double block the other one if you're leaving the press gang around. However, Airhater does have a torch to deal with that. Currently, however, he's choosing his Channel of the Tempest target, and that is going to be Magikarp's
The
face.
face instead of the press gang, which I don't really agree much with. He's going to have a lot of trouble blocking the next turn.
Definitely, because he does
9/9.
not wind up getting that undepleted power. Oh, yes. He does, however, get the depleted power he needed to turn these Champions of Cunning into 9/5s, and that means that they are now able to 1-for-1 trade with the animated Sentinels. So
He saw the line, he saw the cards in the top of his deck, he knew he was going to draw that power.
it's exactly what he needed. However, he's still going to need to fire off that torch, or perhaps the hailstorm fairly soon to
Or
deal with
mark
the
it into
chronological
ink
press
on
game.
blood to prevent all the other press gangs from coming.
I mean, how many press games would that be? He is running 4. Magikarp is running 4 press games, so that is worth considering.
And that gets rid of all the revenge stuff because he is very low on life and does not want to get hit.
Yes. And there's only one Rajan, so...
Oh, he got the maiden
As-
instead. So that's enough to shut down what he needs to do.
Yeah, that's good play too.
And
It's another
presents his
unit,
own threats
and
on his life total
Yeah.
to deal with.
so here's Magikarp getting to play out an Aurelian Merchant, and not getting to go into the market.
I don't
Because
think he has
the
any time cards in the market anyway. No, he does have.
He does.
Yeah, he has
It's a
double
time-based
faction.
market. It's
Oh,
it's all
because the
time
Kalari's website has the red symbol on it
Yeah.
instead of the dual faction symbol, so I got confused.
Whoops. Well, at this point, I think Airhater has managed to stabilize and is going to win this game due to the immense power of Azendel's Gift versus
Maiden
control
was
decks.
definitely the right call. He has Stone Cuts when it's starting to present his own threat and can end the game right away.
Oh yeah. Currently representing 8 damage when you add the 2 units in play to the 2 cudgels in hand,
He's on a 2-turn. Oh, he drew a torch, which is very nice.
because that allows Airhater to have lethal.
And end the game right away.
And there we are.
Always gotta love it when you pick up exactly lethal to put your opponent at 0.
Yeah, it's really satisfying. My favorite way to kill an opponent is with Nightfall triggers,
That is always the best way to kill your
because
opponent.
it's always Xaxes, and it's on
Only
their
second
turn.
only second to permafrosting one of the units that does damage to yourself.
Oh yeah, like an Impending Doom, or even a
Interrogator.
yeah. They're still getting card draw off the Interrogator, but I have seen people die to their own Interrogator. It's rare, and the Interrogator is still good, regardless of that, but it does happen. So the players are diving right back into game, it looks. Magikarp is going to choose to continue playing his Moment deck, which kind of makes sense, as he's going to have to win with it anyway. Whereas Airhater is on his other unbanned deck, which is the Xenon list.
Yeah, and the Moment deck should have a lot better time dealing with the Xenon list. The Xenon list likes to play a lot of threats to the board, and the Moment deck has harsh rules to deal with it,
Right,
and he can go over the top.
But Airhater is once again running Gift in the market, right?
Yes, he is. That's the card that will decide this matchup. If he can get the gift down early, and then he can play out his threats before Magikarp stabilizes, then he can win this game.
Yeah, I mean, as early as you can ever reasonably play out a Gift. So now, Magikarp has a fairly slow hand, as everything he's going to play is going to be depleted. But even the cards he draws off the Findaways.
Yeah, but Air Hater doesn't have too many threats right now to punish it. He has a Dream Snatcher. Oh, Iron is coming out next turn, so that's pretty good actually. No, he has a curve.
Airhater has a full-on curve that's going to be tough for Magikarp to deal with up until he's able to play that Harsh Rule, which may have to be turn 6, but should be able to be turn 5 because he can play a Seed of Glory that should be undepleted after a Find the Way.
Yeah,
right?
You can play Seeds on, and they will become activated on depleted power, even if your sigil that you have on hand is depleted. He draws another Seed. He's gonna want to be able to get that press gang on 4 and stop some of the bleeding before the Harsh Rule.
Yeah, that's a totally reasonable play at this point.
Airhater picks up a Champion of Mystery.
Interesting that Airhater chose not to commit the IM last turn. So that he was only attacking in for 2 this turn, and that makes his board a lot less scary with just the Sandstorm Titan and a Dream Snatcher that would be eaten up by the press gang.
Perhaps he's trying to play around the Harsh Rule and wait for the IN for later.
Perhaps that may be the case.
That merchant is still in Airhater's hand, looking to draw that gift as soon as possible.
Purify plus Torch is definitely a way to deal with Sandstorm Titan, and Magikarp could do that while also being able to have Alessi in play. That is a line that Magikarp is definitely considering, and seems to be the one that he's going to go for. Or he might choose to just use Find the Way right now, start building up Alessi instead.
Yeah, you don't need to play your Harsh Rule right away. The longer you wait, the more value you can get out of that, and he's under no pressure to his life total right now. He can double block the Titan with a torch on the Dream Snatcher.
Yeah, that is what he's going to go with. Interesting choice in my mind. Perhaps it's just from me playing way too much Miracle Blitz at this point. I would have wanted to keep my Alessi around.
Yeah, Alessi is a great card, but sometimes you gotta learn to cut your losses and kill your darlings.
Yeah, of course, if that Chronos Press Gang dies without Airhater having some way to stop it from coming back, is he running in Cold Bloods in this list?
He has one in the market for sure.
Yeah, he has 2 in the main, 1 in the market, so he does have a way to stop that press gang from going and getting another Alessi. But
Airhater has a Mystic Ascendant
way.
And the power.
That's always a strong combo.
Which is gonna start growing, becoming a great threat if you can't remove it right away.
Of course,
he has a Purify, which stops the Empower effect, but does not kill him. So he's gonna have to decide between that or a Harsh Rule.
I think it's totally reasonable to just purify the unit here, because Oh yes, I like this attack. I really like this attack because here Air Hater chooses to make the wrong block because now the Purify is going to straight up kill the Mystic Ascendant, and Magikarp has that looming threat of being able to draw another Alyssy.
Yeah, that's a very good attack, even because you're threatening the harsh rule at the same time. So you would block considering thinking he's gonna harsh rule you later, but you're really playing it right into the purify.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times harsh rule decks just make sudden attacks. That's the first thing on your mind.
Now there's a unit that is very good against Heart of the Vault, but Magikarp can once again just attack in with the Heart of the Vault because he'll be able to finish off the World Bear Behemoth with his own Heart of the Vault.
Playing multiple Heart of Vaults in a row is always the beating.
Absolutely.
That card is so good and so strong.
Yeah. Heart of the Vault is one of those insanely powerful threats I was talking about. Now here, since Air Hater chose not to block, Magikarp is considering throwing out a harsh rule. Do you think he winds up choosing to do so, or does he perhaps play his Merchant to go grab something like Moment, which currently only makes 5/5s?
Yeah, I'll probably mark it for something.
Perhaps the Great Parliament is indeed what he gets. That currently makes 2 4/4s, and he does that right now, which means he'll have an option to block Air Haters 6/7. But at this point, I feel like you're no longer quite as worried about blocking it. He's only at 14, and you've got a 6/6 and a flying 4/4.
Yeah, start to build up your aerial fleet, which Zenon has trouble dealing with without the Sandsword Titans.
Devastating Setback not only gets rid of one of the harsh rules, but makes Air Hater fully aware of the second harsh rule in Magikarp's hand.
Unfortunately, however, I don't think it's gonna matter for him because he has other options like the Heart of the Vault, which can just keeping him ahead.
Yeah, and
beating down.
Here he plays that Heart of the Vault to finish off the Ion that had shown up to block the Aurelian Merchant. And Air Hater doesn't have access to his own harsh rules, so
here's the question:
play a unit.
If you're Magikarp, do you attack with everything or just the Owl and style points lethal with Thurzon?
I mean, it looks like he's going to not do Exaxes and instead do 1 over Exaxes.
Not as cool.
I mean,
he ends up taking the game.
It's understandable because then, like, you could harsh rule if your opponent had, like, a kill spell for the Owl.
That was definitely the correct play.
Yeah.
That very competitive and great player Magikarp made.
So now both players have won a game, which means we're going to be going into game 3.
Which is going to be
Air Hater will be
Legion
still
mid-range.
on, and Air Hater will be still on his Zenon deck.
So, a Legion mid-range versus Big Zenon. Who do you think is favored?
I think
Legion has the edge because of just because of the Sursos, and Dawnwalkers are great recurring value. Is he running Dawnwalkers in this list? Air Hater is not running Dawnwalkers of his own.
That is correct. One of the things that I feel might be somewhat tough for Magikarp to deal with is going to be those 7/7 unblockables. However, he does have access to permafrosts, which could deal with them, and most importantly in this matchup, I think
permafrost, the re-equivocates.
Most importantly, out of everything, Magikarp is running Teacher of Humility.
Teacher of Humility. If that card hits you, it doesn't matter what deck you are, you're gonna be sad. Because every deck has something that gets reduced by teacher of humility, and or should I say increase the cost of it. And
Yes.
even if your deck doesn't really care or doesn't have any draw effects, teacher humility has a draw effect right on the card for you to get punished.
For Magikarp himself doesn't really exactly care about draw effects because he doesn't have many of his own, but he's, of course, the player who's running the teachers, not the player who's up against the teachers. Air Hater will, of course, be unable to deal. Well, markets. Markets are one thing that teacher absolutely hates on, and because it does count as drawing cards when you pull them from your market.
Magikarp picks up a nice turn 1 initiate, which is always great to ramp into your good stuff. Air Hater has Veros Choice, which is good in the matchup. Takes out their biggest threat before they even play it. And a Caradon Merchant to pick up, let's see, probably In Cold Blood. Or Steward of the Past as another blocker.
In Cold Blood at this point is just a single target removal spell, nothing else beyond that, so it's perhaps not the choice here.
But his other choices are Azendo's Gift, which your mid-range deck probably isn't going to be holding too many cards in hand. Probably just wants to play out the threats to the board.
I mean, maybe those are still some large units in Magikarp's hand, and if he does wind up getting stuck on power, it could work out really well for Air Hater to be able to throw all of those threats that he knows Magikarp has into Magikarp's Void.
Yeah, Magikarp is going to needs to pick up the power and dump his hand in order to be able to keep inside this game.
Absolutely. Air Hater will be able to play additional power over the course of the next few turns.
Veros Choice picks off the Surso, which is one of the best cards in this matchup. Can ignore it. Doesn't matter how big the opponent's unit is, he's going to eat it.
Yeah, Surso is a really powerful guy. Like that. And as you do with your Cersos, Magikarp is running 3 copies of Xenon and a way to give those Cersos, or perhaps as Dawnwalkers, Killer, which is sort of the basis of Cerso decks. Also works well on World Bear Behemoth.
So Magikarp is running 3 Thundering Carousars, and he has one in the market with 4 merchants. So that card is going to show up no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty good in this. So even though Xenon is a mid-range deck, it does play quite a few spells.
Right. Thundering Carousar is a very interesting card. It is a 8/8 for 6, which is a pretty insane rate since it also has Overwhelm. And then it has this secondary ability that when either player plays a spell, the other player draws a card.
So whoever plays the most spells gets punished. Magikarp surrenders right away. He's not finding the power he needs to stay in the game.
That's really unfortunate for Magikarp, unable to draw into additional power. Even though he does get his 3rd power, he is not going to be able to do anything with just 3 at a point where Air Hater is able to play 5 drops.
Unfortunately, these things sometimes happen in these sorts of card games.
Yeah, that is variance, and it does sometimes happen. Best of 3s, of course, can help deal with variance, where maybe one bad game and then the other 2 are good. Could happen. But we see Magikarp winding up losing this game and this match. In spite of that, however, Magikarp still should win the tournament because he won both round 1 and round 2 of our 3-round event, which was a round robin because we had a total of 4 players.
Yeah, Magikarp put up a great showing, did what he needed to do, and picked up the win anyway.
So, as always, we have people beyond just us four making this possible. We have the great help from Cats Go Moo, Duncan Wren, and Ray Chef supplying money to be able to run these great Parliament tournaments. And
Do great support for us over here. Appreciate them very much.
and we're always looking for more people that might be interested in helping us have consistent prize pools for all of our tournaments. If you're interested in that,
Yeah, come on in. We
Yeah.
appreciate the sponsors. If you wanna sponsor a new kind of tournament, you can talk with us. We always like running new things.
and even if you just want to come in and play in one of our tournaments, we'd be happy to have you. The Great Parliament has an open Discord, and we would love to have you here either watching or playing.
Yeah, come hang out in the Discord no matter what. We have a good time here. Lots of fun. So thank you guys for watching this tournament. We love setting it up and giving it to you. Don't forget to
And
follow the channel.
shout outs to Duncan for not only being a sponsor, but for also assisting with today's tournament organization. And shout outs to The Rock for managing to be able to produce the tournament as best as he could with this tough internet connection that he was having to deal with.
Yes, he had to fight through a few issues, but he pulled through. Did great work.
And that's going to be all for today's tournament. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you on Tuesday for Clary's Tuesday tournament, right?
Goodbye. Thank you for watching.